So we're going to start with the 7th grade speeches. And I would like to ask contestant number 7A to please come forward. And you'll be right here. You can bring this down a little bit. There we go.
I may begin. Hello! Today I am here to enlighten you on wetlands, nature's iPhone. I made this 21st century analogy because much like the device, wetlands perform a variety of useful functions. Except wetlands do not have Siri or a battery life. Instead, they have a variety of characteristics, which I will discuss. First, what is a wetland? A wetland is a place where the soil is covered with water, or water is near or on the surface of the soil for differing increments of the year, including growing season. There are two main types of wetlands, tidal wetlands and non-tidal wetlands. Tidal wetlands are found on coast and are somewhat like estuaries and are often mud or sand flats. Non-tidal wetlands are found on floodplains along rivers and streams. Water characteristics and other factors make it easy for wetlands to vary greatly. Wetlands are some of the world's most vital ecosystems, like rainforests and coral reefs. Wetlands are home to many organisms. The plant debris forms detritus, a nutrient-rich material in the water. This helps to nourish many small shellfish, fish, and insects that enjoy the shallow water. Larger animals may prey upon these smaller animals. This is why wetlands provide so much to birds and mammals as well, with plenty of food and water. Animals of all kinds can generally find shelter in or near the wetland. Wetlands and their inhabitants are beneficial to the chemical environment as well. The animals, microbes, and plants are responsible for part of the cycles of nitrogen, water, and sulfur. Wetlands are also able to store carbon within their plants and soils, so it is not released into the air as carbon dioxide. This makes it easier for us to breathe. Wetlands also help to moderate climate conditions. Wetlands can also help to purify water. As runoff passes through, the wetland retains some pollutants and other waste. Some wetlands can even help to maintain stream flow and groundwater, which many people depend on for drinking. Wetlands also provide flood protection. Floodwater spreads through roots and other vegetation. This causes it to slow down and spread out, making for a flood that is not as damaging. Wetland plants help to stop coastal erosion by holding soil in place with their roots. In addition, many Americans like to use wetlands for recreational purposes. This includes hunting, fishing, bird watching, and natural photography. Sadly, it is also we Americans that are robbing the world of these beautiful places. There are many threats to wetlands. Sadly, many wetlands have become degraded. This means their quality and ability to perform vital functions such as purifying water or storing floodwater decreases significantly. Sometimes a degraded wetland is worse than a lost wetland. Unfortunately, people and their activities are some of the main reasons wetlands disappear. When we drain for agricultural and especially developmental purposes, we lose this assistance nature has given to itself and us. We also have materials that the wetlands cannot filter, yet get into them anyway, such as road salts, heavy metals, and pesticides, just to name a few. You can help by working to restore the Clean Water Act. You can also support the National Wildlife Federation. Think about it. If you put your iPhone in an elaborate or protective case, think about how much wetlands deserve your respect and attention. You cannot buy natural ecosystems and habitats in an app store. We cannot afford to lose wetlands. Thank you for your time.
Podium, please.
think of the Louisiana Bayou, does it bring visions of dark, gross, disgusting waters, tall cypress trees growing out of the swamp, slithery snakes, creepy spiders, and as some people say, even spooky ghosts? This area of land sounds horrible, but is actually a wonderful and beautiful ecosystem called a wetland. And wetlands need our help. Wetlands are the mixture of water and land. They include swamps, marshes, and bogs. The Clean Water Act defines wetlands as those areas that are inundated or saturated by surface or groundwater, at a frequency and duration sufficient to support, and that under normal circumstances do support a prevalence of vegetation typically adapted for life in saturated soil conditions. Basically, wetlands are the ecosystem where water and land meet. They're found in many places. The size of California is about the size of all the wetlands put together in the United States. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, the continental 48 states contains 110 million acres of wetlands altogether. Wetlands are amazing things. They help save people's and animals' lives. They help people in so many ways. They affect how people work and their daily lives. Many towns use wetlands as their only food source. These communities live off of fish, frogs, and even alligator meat. The wetlands are filled with rocks and certain plants that cleanse the water as it just flows through it. Wetlands also soak up excess water from big storms and hurricanes to help prevent floods. This helps with less homes being destroyed, and by that, people can keep their homes. While we may have many acres of wetlands protecting us today, we used to have a whole lot more. As stated by the EPA, in the 18th century, there were 220 million acres of wetlands. Since then, the amount of wetlands in the North America have declined by half because of the population increase. People have forgotten how wetlands contribute to the health and safety of our daily lives. Wetlands have become wastelands. We desire new buildings that are bigger and better than what we already have. When we clear wetlands to make room for these new modern buildings, we're destroying a whole ecosystem, turning wetlands into wastelands. One of the largest factors in the decrease in wetlands is waste and chemical contamination. Chemical contamination comes from industrial buildings and pollution from garbage and contaminated water runoffs. It's destroying our wetlands. When we create our building desires and forget about the importance of wetlands, we're destroying a whole ecosystem that just protects us. Wetlands are critical to our livelihood. It is up to each of us to stop the destruction of wetlands. We have to make changes in where we put our building desires. We have to look at alternative designs that meet our desires without making wastelands. We can also help by just recycling in our own homes and raising awareness of the situation we're having. We need to educate others about the importance wetlands are to our society. If you want to be able to see a blue heron, if you want to see a great egret, if you want to watch an alligator try to catch a red fox, then you all want to save the wetlands. To help save the wetlands, be mindful of the wetlands and their contribution to us. Be conscious of your effect on the environment. And these things could help change the negative connotations and images often associated with wetlands such as the Louisiana bayous. Wetlands such as, with everyone's help, we can instead see the clean water, amazing and beautiful creatures, and the helpful vegetation such as the tall cypress trees. Let's make our wastelands wetlands.
Did Did you know that 17% of the state of North Carolina is considered wetlands? Wetlands are defined as lowland areas such as marshes, swamps, or bogs that are saturated with moisture. Today, first of all, we will look at water purification in the wetlands. Next, how plants and animals depend on wetlands. And finally, how wetland activities in the wetlands affect the economy. When I was in the 5th grade, as a class, we went to Camp Thunderbird. This camp is on Lake Wiley and has a lot of birds and fish. One day in class, a counselor taught us about the mercury poisoning in the lake. Do you know there's a limit on how many fish you can eat there a day? It is only 2 because the mercury is so bad. Wetlands play a major role in the environment. Wetlands protect the water supply by trapping sediments, holding extra nutrients, and other things such as heavy metals back. These functions are important when wetlands are used by humans for drinking, swimming, and other activities. The water travels slowly enough in the wetlands that the pollutants such as heavy metals, fertilizers, pesticides, and excess nutrients settle to the bottom of the stream, purifying it. Secondly, wetlands provide shelter and food to many plants and animals. Did you know that 43% of endangered species depend on wetlands? Many fish are born in wetlands because there is a thick covering of plants that protects the eggs from other animals. Wetlands are used a lot by amphibians and reptiles. Amphibians and reptiles such as toads and alligators use the wetlands to lay their eggs, eat, and hide from predators that might eat them. Migratory birds, or birds that go south for the winter, use the wetlands to raise their young, nest, feed on amphibians, fish, and insects. But did you know there's such a thing as a seasonal wetland? One type is the vernal pool. You can see these any time of the year, but they can be seen best in the spring months, but they can also be dry any time of the year. With this seasonal change, it prevents them from supporting a fish population. Another reason these areas are popular is for amphibian breeding. Vernal pools are important for salamanders and frog breeding. Without vernal pools and other wetlands, these species would completely disappear from the ecosystem. For example, spring peepers are small frogs that live in the woods most of the year, but return to the wetlands to breed each year. If you live or camp near a wetland, you might have heard these peepers on a spring night. If houses or buildings are built on wetlands, local populations of these peepers would disappear. Wetlands are inviting places for outdoor activities such as hiking, fishing, birdwatching, photography, and hunting. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, more than half of the adults in the U.S. spend $59.9 billion annually on fishing, birdwatching, hunting, and photographing wildlife. Another economic benefit of wetlands is the use to support saleable products, such as cranberries and fish. Wetlands affect the economy, but the economy also affects the wetlands. If wetlands are destroyed, will our water be full of toxins? Would our lakes be too dangerous to swim in? Or when we water our yards, would the grass die from all the pollutants in the water? Where will the animals live? How will they live? And how will they eat? Or where can they hide their eggs so they will hatch? When our wetlands are gone, where will we hunt and fish? Or will the fishing industry in North Carolina die? Do you know who does this to the wetlands? Us. We have the power to make it better or ruin them like we already have. To quote the Lorax from 2012, how bad can I possibly be? To tell the truth, we are terrible and destroy the homes of creatures that cannot defend themselves. Destroy our water supply that provides us with healthy water, and destroy the fishing industry that provides money for people of North Carolina. The federal government and some state governments have regulations on preserving and regulating wetland activities in wetlands. A few states even have wetland protection agency groups. There are many groups that exist for private civilians, corporations, government agencies, and other groups that help slow down the destruction of our wetlands. We are rapidly losing our wetlands, and we can help by not polluting our water, littering, and filling them for economic development. We can restore our wetlands. How bad can I possibly be? We can be great if we do all the positives and not the negatives. If we get out there and try to save the wetlands, we find out they really are wonderful.
And now we're going to move to the 8th grade speeches. And I would first like to call contestant 8A to the podium.
Marshes, swamps, bogs, riverbanks, floodplains. What do all these places have in common? Why should we care about them? All these places seem boring, unproductive, or even unnecessary. No, they're the lifeblood of everything living. They are the wetlands, and we are their guardians. Many may wonder, what are wetlands? Everyone should be asking this question. It is the first step to defending these crucial places. These water-soaked areas are literally what they seem. Wetlands are expanses of soil that are saturated or completely covered for at least part of the year. These tracts of land are usually covered in greenery ranging from marsh grass, flowers and meadowland, and all the way to evergreens. The reason there is so much variety in the vegetation is because of the variances in how they are formed. Some, such as marshes and tidal pools, are formed near the coast, where water is constantly present but sometimes retracts due to the tide. Others form nowhere near large bodies of water, but rather because of depressions in the ground where runoff collects. Wherever they are, wetlands are very diverse and unique. They are not like any other environment and are absolutely imperative in today's world. You see, wetlands are wonderful and need to be protected. Still not convinced? Wetlands have many different functions that help our life and economy. Without them, we would have to spend hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars to filter our water. Whenever it rains, runoff from our towns and cities are filled with garbage, chemicals, toxins, and other horrid substances that could cause so much devastation if it reaches other environments or to our mouths. Here is where wetlands come into play. There are natural filters that trap all those nasty things and keep our pockets full and other environments clean. Well, what if there's a monsoon going on outside? Will we be flooded? No, wetlands are here to save the day. Since they are huge basins, floodwater collects there, away from our homes. Not only do they do just that, but like any other environment, life is everywhere. Fish, birds, amphibians, and mammals galore. You'll find almost everything there. Wetlands are home to rare plants and animals. As a matter of fact, 70% of North Carolina's endangered or threatened species rely on the wetlands to provide a safe haven in which they can raise their young. Additionally, wetlands contribute to our economy. Vital to fishing, wetlands provide superb fishing sites to support our need for food. In the like manner, hunting and trapping are a huge part of our economy and are widely supported by wetlands. Wetlands can also be used for timber as long as it is not abused. This backs up anyone who is not in the woodcrafting business. Not to forget our visitors, wetlands also contribute by giving tourists spots for birdwatching, sightseeing, canoeing, and photography. However, those activities are not limited to tourists, but we can enjoy them too. So, how do we tackle this? We can start by cleaning after ourselves. Remember, runoff from our towns and cities travel into wetlands. All of those toxic substances are now stuck in wetlands doing so much damage. We need to quit littering and start picking up. By the way, don't think you can go straight and walk into wetlands. You might not know it, but you can kill organisms if you are not careful. Donating to organizations like the Soil and Water Conservation Districts can also help. These organizations will use funds to protect the wetlands from being destroyed. Now what? What do? Go. Use this information to help us and the world prosper.
I'd like to call contestant 8B to the podium, please.
Hi, I'm a kid, a typical kid. You know me, just a normal child. I hate doing homework. I love hanging out with my friends. Unfortunately, my teacher just assigned me to a writing report on wetlands. I mean, who even thinks about wetlands? All they do is just sit there and be wet. I guess I'm judging too soon. I bet I'm not the only one, though. Be honest with me. When you think wetlands, what do you think? Magic, rainbows, and dance parties? No, you think like me. Boring. I don't really know anything about wetlands, so I have to do some research. I'm going to study what they do and how they affect us as humans. After studying websites like Ducks Unlimited and Environmental Protection Agency at water.epa.gov, I've learned what wetlands really are. They help us in lots of ways. They filter harmful substances, like toxins and nastiness. I mean, who wants to breathe that in, am I right? They also can keep our houses from flooding by acting like giant sponges soaking up the extra water. Wow, that's much more interesting than I first thought. So, while wetlands might help us with filtration and flooding, they still aren't the topic of a conversation in a typical middle school with friends. Most kids aren't interested in water or land, but maybe they should be. I've discovered even more interesting things. You wouldn't believe all the cool things that exist in the wetlands. Most middle school kids love animals. Well, if they care about the animals at all, I bet they love to hear about the wetlands. My favorite animal is called the stilt. It's a beautiful bird with long pink legs. And I know what you're thinking. It's a flamingo. No, it has a black and white body, but it's still really cool and interesting to learn about. Also, the wetlands are home to the American alligator, those creepy lizard things you see people hunting on TV. Ew. Also, I love this cute little frog called the gold spiny reed frog. He's so cute, I just want to pet his little slimy back. Now that I think about that, that's kind of gross. So as I learn about what wetlands are and what kind of amazing animals live there, I'm starting to see why the adults in my life think wetlands are interesting. Actually, I'm starting to think wetlands are amazing. I've learned so many incredible things in my research, I'm starting to become amazed. Did you know that a wetland can either be saltwater or freshwater? When I was younger, I thought every body of water in the outdoors had to be like saltwater, gross and nasty like the ocean. Well, other than pools, of course. Wetlands also have an incredible lifespan, way longer than us humans. A typical wetland won't dry up for 100,000 years. A typical lifespan of a human is less than 100 years. That makes me realize that the way we take care of our wetlands won't just affect us. It will affect our children and grandchildren for generations to come. If we interfere with wetlands, it may only last for 10,000 years. Simply polluting the wetlands can decrease its lifespan by over 80%. We have to find ways to preserve the wonderful, weird strangeness that I want everyone to know, love, and experience. One of the ways we can protect these wetlands is by donating. Did you know that most areas have a local wetland protection club? Also, many U.S. post offices have federal duck stamps that you can buy too. Who doesn't love ducks? All the proceeds go to protecting the wetlands. You don't always have to give money though. My favorite idea is to get together with friends and family members in your area to start your own wetland preservation club. You could have group projects like building an upland pond to help manage wetland and aquatic species. It would be a great way to get the community and school together. You could learn together and then get outside and protect the wetlands right in your area. Wow, this has been amazing. I had no idea when I started thinking about wetlands how much I'd learn. I mean, I started out thinking they were boring, just wet land. As it turns out, though, the wetlands are more than that. They're amazing, interesting places that protect us as human species and house fantastic species in the animal kingdom. While I started out thinking they were boring, now I think they're so important. I want to protect and save the natural, beautiful wetlands. I guess I truly think I've changed my mind. Now I think wetlands really are wonderful.
Did you know that the global area of freshwater wetlands and floodplains shrank by nearly 2/3 between 1997 and 2011? That would be an estimated 408 million acres to 148 million acres. But to understand this, you must know what wetlands are. Well, wetlands are a piece of saturated land, either seasonally or permanently, depending on where you are. This is generally things like marshes, swamps, and bogs, and the water in those wetlands can either be saltwater, freshwater, or brackish. Wetlands vary, however, depending on the topography, differences in soil, vegetation, climate, and other things, which is why wetlands are found in every inhabited continent. Wetlands are beneficial to the environment in more ways than one. To start, they prevent flooding by holding water in one place like a sponge. It does this by collecting water from surrounding areas when the water levels are too high in those surrounding areas, and then releasing water when the water levels are too low in those surrounding areas. When releasing water, they also release things like nutrients and vegetation to feed fish and other species in surrounding rivers. Animals in the surrounding rivers are also heavily benefited from wetlands. They often use wetlands for reproduction and migration. For example, herons nest in trees but then need shallow areas to wait for fish. Or how amphibians gather food from upland areas but then return to the water to mate. Wetlands are another big factor in controlling erosion. Erosion is the process in which water slowly and gradually destroys or breaks down something. This process occurs when water flows and carries rocks and minerals from the soil somewhere else. And although this may not seem like a very big issue, it is a very big factor when containing a healthy ecosystem. Wetlands control erosion because they contain plants called emergents. These plants are firmly rooted in the muddy ground with stalks that grow high. These types of plants include cattails, bulrushes, wild rice, and sedges, and can also help with shoreline stability. Oftentimes, wetlands are found near the banks and shores of streams and rivers because they help protect the banks and shores from erosion forces that come from wave currents. Wetlands can also clean water by filtering out sediment and through a process in which it traps sediment and retains excess nutrients and other pollutants. In addition to that, they cleanse water by converting chemicals into a useful form or burying and trapping the chemicals deep beneath the surface. And finally, they help with decomposing vegetation. Eventually, after the vegetation has become decomposed, the nutrients and minerals from the vegetation will go back into the wetlands and spread to other areas, flourishing that environment there as well. Wetlands' ability to filter and recycle material is a very important process when the earth is functioning, and yet, wetlands are under serious threat because of humans. When pollutants and chemicals get into wetlands, it can seriously harm the environment and pose a great threat towards the wetlands. Humans also build things like dams, which disrupt the natural flow of water into the wetlands. Humans also often introduce new species, and since the species already living there haven't adapted to these new changes yet, the new species might end up killing them, setting off the balance of that ecosystem. Natural disasters can also obviously pose a threat to wetlands, but humans can contribute to that threat as well. Humans can cause things like forest fires and global warming, which can again cause the wetlands to dry up, killing every organism in that ecosystem. To conclude, wetlands are more than just a piece of saturated land. They help the environment in many ways.
They control flooding, prevent erosion, and provide homes for numerous species. However, if humans continue to harm wetlands, there will be none left in the world to do all of these wonderful things. But there are ways you can help. By doing small things in your environment, like just using less fertilizer, you can help save this fragile but wonderful ecosystem from destruction. Thank you.
Responsible stewardship of the land and all of its natural resources. Our approach to conservation is voluntary and it's locally led. We provide educational, financial, and technical assistance with conservation of soil, water, animal, plants, and air. Cabarrus Soil and Water Conservation District was established by state statute on August 28, 1963, as a single county subunit of state government with an elected board. From 1939 to 1963, the Middle Yadkin Soil and Water Conservation District covered the counties of Cabarrus, Davies, Davidson, Iredell, and Rowan. This fall, our staff have participated in career day events in 2 schools and lined up conservation presentations to over 2,600 sixth grade students during annual county fair. Next week, our staff will be serving as middle school science fair judges. Still to come in the new year at the middle school level are our sixth grade conservation poster and computer slideshow contests. We're still hopeful that more middle school teams will join the team from Cannon School as participants in the Southern Piedmont Envirothon at Catawba College in mid-March. And we're also hoping to recognize a Conservation Educator of the Year for the first time in a number of years during our annual Stewardship Week banquet in late April. So third place was Nevaeh Green from Concord Middle School. And second place was Justice Ivy at C.C. Griffin Middle School. And if y'all could stand up, Nevaeh. Nevaeh, where is Nevaeh? There she is. Okay, if you could just stand up. And then Justice?
She's not here.
She's not here? Okay. And Justice Hatcher from J.N. Fry's Middle School. And honorable mention was Marissa Stevens from Carolina International School. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Hatcher,
Yes.
I would like for you to read your essay because you were the #1 winner, okay? Okay.
What does it mean to be wonderful? Wonderful things inspire delight or pleasure. When you hear the word wonderful, you may think of something that you call your favorite, like your favorite person, your hero. Do you have a hero in your life? The feeling that a hero gives you is a feeling written into your smiles as you get back up because they have destroyed the thing that holds you back. It is in your sigh of relief because reassurance flows throughout you. Heroes make you swell with happiness because you know that no matter what, they'll always be there for you or someone else. Wetlands, believe it or not, are heroes too. Think about floods, water engulfing a city and sending people into frenzied panic. The news flashes about it for a while and several mourn the unfortunate people who had to suffer. Wetlands function as flood protectors. When flowing flood waters come to a wetland, the land serves as a sponge and slowly releases surface water, rain, melted snow, groundwater, and floodwaters. Along with this, wetland vegetation slows the speed of floods. Wetlands have a huge holding capacity, and therefore being able to contain large amounts of water helps control floods. Floods are tragedies, and when someone makes an effort to stop these from harming others, it is a heroic effort. Heroes don't only protect people, they protect animals as well. Has your hero ever stopped the car or stopped walking to let an animal pass by? Exactly how heroes protect animals, wetlands can too. For several endangered animals and plants, wetlands are the only option. An international agreement was even made so that wetlands were protected in order for them to continue helping these animals. Why? These animals, especially birds, are reliant on wetlands for survival. Wetlands provide shelter, food, and water, which are all important factors for survival. Animals can also use wetlands as resting, feeding, breeding, and nesting grounds. Helping someone survive, even if you don't create a big organization or fly throughout a city, is a wonderful, heroic action. A hero is something idolized for their bravery, noble qualities, and courage. Your hero doesn't have to be dressed in a supersuit. A hero doesn't have to have super strength and powers. Your hero can simply be a marshy swamp that continuously protects all of its abilities contained within.
And Miss Hannah Hersey will have some certificates and prizes for you. We've already done it. Oh, we haven't given the prize for the essay. So, yeah, you need to get your prize. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did that while we were waiting.
So if you want to, she's got them, what order do you have them in?
I have first, second, third, fourth.
Okay.
So Justice Hatcher?
And Justice Ivy is not here, right? Or, okay. And Nevaeh Green? Wait.
Can you come back and stand with her, please? Thank you. I didn't want to take your picture with you looking well.
Okay, now seventh grade. Public speaking awards. We're going from third. Oh, not here. Yeah, Justice.
No, Marissa's here.
Merce?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry, Merce.
It's okay. You can go from third.
Okay. Public speaking, seventh grade. We ready? Okay. John Mark Polk, C.C. Griffin Middle School. Bryce Beely, J.N. Fries, Magnet. Bryce, we gotta give you a picture.
All right, Hannah, now I need you to cooperate.
Okay.
We've only been doing this for 47 years
47
now.
years.
I wasn't here the whole time, though.
It's my first year, so it's. And first place to Tyler Pickett at Mount Pleasant Middle School. All right, eighth grade, and in order from third to first. Third place, Delaney Smith, C.C. Griffin Middle School. Second place, Edward Enriquez, Northwest Cabarrus Middle School. And first place, Priya Patel, J.N. Fry's Magnet School. All right. Thank you, contestants. Thank you, judges. And thank you, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and friends. Thanks for coming.